Attention, all you lovely ladies and gentlemen, gungans, and beautiful droids across the galaxy. This is your Grand Admiral Otto, director of the video gaming division here at the Galactic Empire, and today we got kind of an interesting video. Now, I know. Galactic Legends, a bit of a divisive topic in terms of how they're rolled out, the cost of the investment, their impact on the game, but one thing I can say for sure is that both of these Galactic Legends up here have drastically changed the landscape of the game. And if you're someone that's like, oh, well, there's no more theory crafting in Galaxy of Heroes, one thing I can say is both of these puppies right here have changed the theory crafting game for both with the Galactic Legends and countering the Galactic Legends. So in today's video, we're going to go over the top 15 characters. It's more like top 18 with this list, but 15 is a better number. Characters that are extremely important in the theory crafting landscape today. So how this list is going to work is we're going to start off by talking about characters that work very well with Rey to help you theory craft great Rey teams. Then we're going to talk about some characters that help Kylo Ren create some very solid teams. And we're going to kind of exclude the obvious answers like Hux, Sith Trooper, Resistance Hero, Finn, and Poe. We're going to talk about the other characters that aren't really a part of these factions, but really juice up these teams. And at the end, we're going to talk about a bunch of characters that are important for countering these Galactic Legends. But we're going to talk about the ones that benefit these characters first, because then it'll make sense why we want to get these characters to counter these teams. L337 is the first one I want to talk about. She probably had the biggest uprising in theory crafting viability with the addition of Galactic Legends Rey. Firstly, she's got a pre-taunt. Pre-taunts are always helpful, especially if you're trying to stop Darth Revan teams from running around you. This is going to be incredibly helpful to try to have a pre-taunt of any sort. And then keep in mind, Finn is going to be able to make L337 taunt for you as well. But what makes her so darn good? She has self-cleansing mechanics through her unique ability for the droid. She dispels a debuff off random scoundrel allies, but usually in these Galactic Legends Rey teams, there's only one scoundrel, and that is her herself. So if you're trying to apply, let's say, a shock, a buff immunity, or something of that sort, she's gonna instantly get rid of it. And this gets even better when we talk about things like Wat Tambor, because Wat Tambor can give her a permanent taunt, and with her being a very durable tank with self-cleansing mechanics, she is a very difficult tank to get rid of the taunt on her. And one last thing I want to mention about L337, she already gives herself a nice bump of 25% extra max protection. Well, with the Rey lead, she's also getting a bunch of extra max health. So she is going to be a very durable tank, a very persistent tank, and she's going to have as well healing and self-cleansing mechanics. Now, one of the biggest counters to Galactic Legends Rey is by utilizing Jedi. We've seen some videos we're going to talk a little bit about in this video, and obviously General Anakin Skywalker kind of on the forefront of our minds right now, since there's some questions about him getting nerfed or buffing Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, as we talked about the other day. Barriss Offee is incredibly important. If you're predicting that your opponent's going to try to pull off a Jedi Knight Revan with a General Anakin Skywalker counter, you're going to want to throw Barriss in there solely because of Swift Recovery Zeta. This Zeta has stood the test of time. This is one of the first Zetas in Galaxy of Heroes. Anytime an ally is critically hit, they're going to recover 20% of their health. And keep in mind, again, with the Rey lead, like we mentioned, L337, they get a 30% extra health increase. And these characters are going to have some pretty solid health pools. And with General Skywalker, the whole foundation of him is critically hitting Rey to death. When you're trying to focus fire on Rey, you are going to find it a lot more difficult to get her into the yellow and exhaust those damage immunities, because the whole point of Rey is get her into the yellow, let her get back up, and then go back in on her. But Barriss Offee is going to delay this. So really, Barriss, that's the main key about her. Her unique ability Zeta is still key to this day. And of course, she's got a healing ability, which is kind of all right too. But really, that Swift Recovery Zeta is the key to all this. Now, who says Rey only works with light side characters? Darth Malak has been seeing some use quite a lot. I've seen in Territory Wars and Grand Arena with Galactic Legends Rey. Firstly, as we saw, one of the early counters that we developed like on our first stream of Galactic Legends Rey is Palpatine up against Rey. But the thing about Palpatine, it all relies on Terminator and him just running circles around Rey and her resistance allies. But the problem is now with Darth Malak, they're going to be preventing bonus turn meter from Sith. So Palpatine's counter gets shut down, but this isn't just to stop Palpatine in his tracks and his lead. It's also great for countering AoE heavy teams, because one of the things about countering Galactic Legends Rey is throwing up a lot of AoEs, throwing up a lot of shocks on Darth Revan and whatnot. So when you're going up against a Malak variant, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful with your AoEs. You're going to be careful. Don't let Anakin just keep smashing his AoEs. Be careful Jedi Knight Revan's AoEs, because if you're hitting Malak and critically hitting him, you're getting fear, and we all know the after results of getting a fear on your character. One of the first deadly compositions we came across with Galactic Legends Rey is the use of Chewbacca. This was the golden standard team to try to beat, because with Chewbacca guarding Finn, not being able to critically hit Finn, not being able to do anything with Finn, not increasing his cooldowns, made it incredibly difficult to get around Finn. And now with Chewbacca, it's all about that guard mechanics, but he's got some other great stuff too. He's got that AoE buff, the spell, he's got the stuns, he's got the assist mechanic, and Finn's gonna be a fairly fast character. You can mod him fast, get that extra speed from the Rey lead. Chewbacca is just great in that regard, so you're not stunning Finn, and you're not trying to daze Finn, not critically hit Finn. So really, loyal friend. Chewbacca's been a loyal friend throughout all the Star Wars movies, and his loyalty still goes for the Resistance, it seems like. First Order Officer. He's kind of like a baby version of Grand Admiral Thrawn in regards to his turn meter gains. Now, it's not a swap for First Order Officer, it's a turn meter feed to another character, but this is incredibly important because one of the biggest strategies, as we even see with doing the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren Tier 6 event, is you want to give Supreme Leader Kylo as many turns as possible. So you're going to start off, Kylo Ren's going to go first. Hux is going to feed another turn to Supreme Leader Kylo and reduce his cooldown. Then First Order Officer, you're going to want to kind of have close to a similar speed, or even more sometimes, to General Hux, and then he's going to feed another turn to Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. You want Supreme Leader Kylo Ren getting turn after turn after turn, putting out the big banger hits on his opponents, and that's where First Order Officer comes in. So this character has become definitely a more important component of the Kylo Ren team after the Galactic Legends. So although these characters didn't get reworks for Galactic Legends Rey and Kylo, they're still finding a lot of viability. This kind of transitions into our next character on the list, First Order Stormtrooper. Now, tanks are always kind of useful. No matter how bad they are, it's always good to have a tank of some sort. And First Order Stormtrooper was an okay character before, but definitely a character we're seeing a lot more nowadays, because you want to try to preserve a full First Order team for the most part, so General Hux prevents the bonus turn meter and whatnot, besides the taunt that he's giving. And if you're using the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren lead, well, First Order Stormtrooper is basically going to be a pre-taunting character for your First Order lineup. And when he does finally pop up a taunt, he's going to grant 25% turn meter, and he can cleanse himself. Now, you're going to get a 3-for-1 special here. As I said, this is a top 15 list, so it's a nice little title, but really, there's a lot more characters in here. I want to talk about Jedi Knight Anakin, Daka, and the Night Sister Zombie. A really weird combo. If you follow me on Twitch, I've shown this a couple times when we were playing around with Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. With Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, keep in mind, once he gets advantage on a tank, they're going to always taunt until they use up that advantage. But if you try to dispel the advantage off of Night Sister Zombie, she's just going to regain it and keep getting taunt over and over and over again. And what happens here is once you get the taunt on Night Sister Zombie, it's easy to get around if you have like Jedi Knight Revan or something like that. But if she keeps getting advantage, you're gonna have to keep going after her, and she's just gonna keep reviving. And every time she's reviving, because old Daka's there on the field, because old Daka's just gonna keep reviving Night Sister Zombie, and when that's happening, Daka's max health is increasing. If Jedi Knight Anakin's on the field, every time the zombie is dying, Jedi Knight Anakin's gonna keep getting a turn after turn after turn. It is, dare I say, almost a deadly loop. It is easy to get around with things like CLS, trying to get a buff immunity on her so you can get around her finally. But things like General Anakin Skywalker and sometimes Rey, they get stuck in this perpetual loop where they're constantly forced to go after Night Sister Zombie, and all that does is gives Jedi Knight Anakin a lot of turns, Daka a lot of max health, and it turns into a really interesting combo through that Supreme Leader Kylo Ren lead. Now we turn the page and we're kind of going into this transitioning stage where now we're talking about characters that both benefit Galactic Legends Rey and Kylo, but they're also so important to counter the Galactic Legends. And we're going to start our conversation up with Wat Tambor and Hermit Yoda. Oh my gosh, Wat Tambor, probably the best all-around character right now in Galaxy. Is obviously the best theory crafting character. He's unlocked so much theory crafting potential for the game. I could talk about him for several videos. We're going to try to keep it nice, short, and simple. But as we kind of talk about things like L337, he has all this tech at the very beginning. You can go ahead and grant them the Bactoid shield generator, give it to L3, and by default, the AI is also very smart. If you put Wat Tambor in L3 or General Kenobi on defense, Wat Tambor knows, feed them the shield generator, so they're going to get a permanent taunt and they're going to cleanse. So besides L337 passively cleansing, she's also going to cleanse when she's taking a turn. She's going to recover more protection. Very deadly under a Galactic Legends Rey lead. But we also see things like mass manufacture work great for Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, giving him the Blast Tech weapon mod, so he puts out even more crazy damage and getting a lot more turns out there. Wat Tambor is becoming a prime candidate for a lot of things nowadays. But man, the Galactic Legends, if you're trying to counter them or use them with Galactic Legends, Wat Tambor is extremely solid, and this kind of ties in with Hermit Yoda. Hermit Yoda is more so important, I think, for countering the Galactic Legends, because you're going to want to feed Grandmaster's training over to General Skywalker, and some lineups give the Blast Tech mod from Wat Tambor over to General Skywalker, so he puts out massive amounts of damage. And Hermit Yoda, with all that foresight, extra healing, it's so darn good. So you can't go wrong with Hermit Yoda in a Jedi team trying to counter Galactic Legends Rey, but you also really can't go wrong with Hermit Yoda with Kylo Ren, or more preferably Galactic Legends Rey. So this last part of the list is going to talk about the characters that are important for countering Galactic Legends. Hermit Yoda and Wat Tambor helped us transition into this part of the list because they are helpful for the counter aspect of this. But you're going to get a couple 2-for-1 specials here. We're going to talk about both Bastila Shan, the Jedi variant, and the Fallen variant. Bastila Shan, the most important thing for both of them is ability blocks. It's funny, I think honestly the most important debuff, aside from like fracture and stuff like that, the most important debuff for Galactic Legends is landing an ability block on them. And luckily Bastila Shan and Bastila Shan Fallen can land ability blocks on Rey and on Kylo, preventing them from using those powerful specials. You want to make sure she does not use Sudden Whirlwind. Of course, the ability blocks will not block the ultimate ability, but in my opinion, for things like Rey especially, the Sudden Whirlwind is a lot more deadly than using her ultimate ability. So this is why I think Bastila Shan, both of them, are incredibly helpful. And of course, the Jedi variant, her leadership is being seen as kind of a way to counter Supreme Leader Kylo, forcing a Jedi to pre-taunt, whether it's Old Ben, Kenobi, whatever the case may be. Some people use Mace Windu. As long as they're a tank, they're going to pre-taunt, soak up that initial stun from Kylo, which allows the rest of your team to kind of work from there. And of course, the Bastila Shan Fallen variant, besides just the ability block, she has the fear. If you can control Finn, you're going to be in a good spot. The AoE shocks helps quickly try to get everyone into their damage immunity state, because really, if you can't just quickly bypass damage immunity through like Malak, for example, you just got to quickly get rid of everyone's damage immunity so Rey has the minimum amounts of Sudden Whirlwinds as possible. And then there's General Anakin Skywalker. I mean, we've made 2 videos this week talking about this topic. There's concerns that Capital Games has. General Anakin Skywalker is too good against Supreme Leader Kylo, because if you just bring in one other character, General Skywalker can just walk through a 1v5 situation up against Kylo. That part might get nerfed in terms of undersized squads, but he is still going to be great in a full team. There's a lot of Kylo Rens out there, Kylo Ren variant teams out there with the Jedi. If you want to use a Jedi Knight Revan, that seems to be one of the more popular counters, is that you bring in the Jedi, mark the Galactic Legends, whether Rey or Kylo. Of course, you can't force a taunt on Kylo, but at least you can get everyone to kind of join with you. On the mass assist here, incredibly important, because he's got the cooldown increases, the health reduction, and he just puts out big damage. If you're throwing in Wat Tambor and Hermit Yoda, it's going to get even bigger. Another 2-for-1 special. We're going to talk about both Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Thrawn. When we're thinking about the leads that counter Galactic Legends, the 2 most prevalent right now are Jedi Knight Revan and Darth Revan. Jedi Knight Revan helping you get that extra speed, extra damage up with focus firing on Rey. So the pre-taunt situation of L337 or Wat L3, Wat Kenobi, really the only best solution at that point seems to be bringing in your Jedi Knight Revan, your General Anakin Skywalker, Hermit Yoda, Bastila Shan, and one other character, and marking down Rey so those free taunts do not get in your way. And now we got the Geonosian Brood Alpha. Now really, it's only kind of one thing that works well with the Geonosian Brood Alpha, and that's solely because he's able to summon the Geonosian Brood. Now, we all know Sudden Whirlwind is a pain in the butt. The Geonosian Brood, spawning that Geonosian Brood, gives you wiggle room, and it also brings in a pre-taunt, so Kylo Ren kind of is forced to go after that character, or Rey is forced to use a Sudden Whirlwind over on the Geonosian Brood. Or what's also great is that the Geonosian Brood can soak up those first few major punches from things like Finn, because remember, Wat Tambor is incredibly important for the Darth Revan variant, especially because if you can't outrun Finn, Finn's just gonna mow you down. But if you don't have Wat Tambor with your Darth Revan team, for example, the Geonosian Brood will call that Brute, and the Brute will soak in those first few major punches, might die off, but luckily the Brute can keep spawning. It's really only gonna be the Brute that soaks up the brute force of it. Gary, that's a good one. Play that. Now, we didn't rank any of these characters in a particular order on this list today, but I am gonna say this last character on the list is the most important character in the game right now to counter Galactic Legends. And that's our boy, Grand Admiral Thrawn. That fracture, even though the Empire tag is next to garbage in this game, it's just about Thrawn's kit that makes him so good. He has stood the test of time, such a well-balanced character that is always helpful, fracturing a character, stalling them out so you can do your job, is incredibly important. This kind of is a culmination of every character we talked about on this list today. Jedi Knight Revan focus firing on Rey, because if Thrawn's stuck behind a pre-taunt L337, you're kind of in a tough pickle. You really don't want to fracture L3. You want to fracture Rey. And the Grand Admiral's command, being able to swap turn meter with an ally, is also incredibly helpful. And of course, the dispel debuffs and the protect regeneration is also incredibly helpful. But this is especially important for things like, let's say if you're running him with Jedi Knight Revan, you want to make sure Jedi Knight Revan gets as many direct focus opportunities as possible. So that's a great way to speed up Jedi Knight Revan. Also, you're going to want to make sure that Thrawn gets as many fractures out as possible. And the most important way to get that done is passing turn meter with someone that has a lot of turn meter. So that way you swap turn meter and you have 95% turn meter and they got the 100% turn meter. So Thrawn can quickly try to transition back into a fracture. So I hope you guys enjoyed this list today. I thought it was kind of an interesting topic to talk about, because although the Galactic Legends themselves is a little bit of a controversial topic, their power level, the paywall behind it, some people are probably never going to get these characters. But as we're seeing today, if you're into theory crafting, if you're complaining about mirror match metas all this time, we're seeing there's a lot of theory crafting going on, a lot of incredibly important characters to make your Rey teams better, your Kylo teams better, and in my opinion, most importantly, countering these Galactic Legends. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Like if you did enjoy it, comment down below. Be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And I'll see all you lovely people in the next video. Gary, roll out the outro.